Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Krysrain deck profile for post-Fated Clash. This is the third Fated Clash, or Divine Skill deck that I am showing for a video. This is actually the second one that I wanted to fully main after Raziel. Just really liking the different card name playstyle of the Krysrain deck, along with having a consistent Vanguard skill and Divine skill for added pressure for during the attack step. So with this deck, you utilize a bunch of different named units, so it's good to have a wide variety in the deck for you to use as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck, starting off with our energy generator, which is basically required in all of the decks from now on. Our starter is Wonder, Lavender, or Soul. When wrote upon, if you went second, draw a card, with our grade 1 being Lively Navy Tifane. When wrote upon by Confident Aqua Musette, reveal the top card of your deck, call it to rear guard if it's a grade 2 or less normal unit, put it into your hand if it is not. So you can at least have a grade 3 to set up in your hand later on, or a grade 2 if it's one to call to hand, or even if it's an order, we can still add it thanks to this grade 1. Our grade 2 is Confident Aqua Musette. With this card, when it's wrote upon by a grade 3 with Krysrain and its card name, reveal the top card of your deck, call to rear guard if it's a grade 3 or less normal unit, put it in your hand if it's not. So more search power thanks to this grade 2, with our grade 3 being Fated 1 of Ever-Changing Krysrain, along with the copy that we run in the ride deck. We also run 3 copies in the main deck. With its skill on Vanguard once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and perform 1 of the following. If you have 4 more units with different names, perform 2 instead. If you have 5 or more, perform all instead of 1. So the more different named units you have on the field, the more you can make use of Krysrain's once per turn skill, which is draw a card and energy charge 3. Choose one of your units and it gets plus 15,000 till end of turn, and this unit gets critical plus 1 till end of turn. So you can have a 28k critical plus 1 and an additional 3 energy to make use of with this card on the field. And its divine skill on the Vanguard circle. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a grade 3 or greater unit. Return all rear guards to the hand. Choose up to 1 unit card from your hand. Call it to rear guard until end of turn. Increase or decrease that unit's power and critical to match this unit. So you'll already have the critical plus 1 thanks to Krysrain's first once per turn skill. Being able just to have another unit match that power makes up for some pretty pressured attacks thanks to this card to begin with. And also, depending on the unit you call and their own abilities. For the other grade 3s, I run 3 copies of Vivid Flash Wheezme. When this unit attacks on rear guard, a grade 3 or greater unit, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain and its card name, you can counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 15,000 till end of battle. So if you use this card as the card chosen for the Divine skill, you can have this unit get the power that Krysrain had, and then the additional plus 15 from its own skill. So it would be even stronger than what your Vanguard was when it attacked. We're also running for the grade 2s 4 copies of the Innocent Orange Ines. When it's placed on rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain and its card name, counterblast 1, energy blast 3, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card from among them with a different card name from the unit cards on your Vanguard or rear guard, and call them to rear and shuffle the deck. So just more setup with the search power that this card can provide. Also with the card being a different card name from units on your Vanguard or rear guard, which can easily be done with all of the different setup that we do in this deck to begin with. And on rear guard, when this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, if you have 4 more units with different card names, it gets plus 10 till end of battle. So on top of a Persona ride and this unit's own skill, it can be attacking for some pretty pressured hits against your opponents. Also running the 4 copies of Dazzle Bubble Paradise Precia. When this unit is put on the guard circle or discard from the hand while riding from the ride deck, you can counterblast 1 or energy blast 3 to draw a card. And also when this unit is placed on the rear guard circle, if you Persona row this turn, counterblast 1 or energy blast 3, choose one of your units till end of turn, it gets plus 5,000. If you chose a rear guard, return that unit to the hand from the rear guard at the end of that turn. So more bounce power as well, but most of the time you can just help to also stack up the power on your Krysrain for her to then give that power to the unit you call out with her divine skill. for the grade 1s, running 3 copies of Cynical Composer ROM. On the rear guard, during the battle, this unit boosted. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain and its card name, it gets plus 5,000 power. And when this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain and its card name, if you have 4 more units with different card names, Energy Blast 3 until the end of that battle. When your opponent would call cards without Sentinel from the guard circle, they must call 3 or more cards with different grades at the same time. So more use for your Energy Blast in the deck, being able to have more of a guard restriction with your opponent to put down more cards for being able to call cards out on the field. So it makes, using a Sentinel less valid for the bigger Krysrain hit, since they'll have to put down the Sentinel and then 2 additional cards as well. I also run 3 copies of Blue-Haired Prodigy Resius. When placed on rear guard, choose one of your other units. It gets plus 10 down to battle. So another perfect card just to set up more power on our Krysrain. You'll have the plus 15 from Krysrain's own skill, the potential of a Persona Ride, the plus 10 from Resius, and then all the other units we mentioned before. Just more and more added pressure for your Vanguard to be able to attack with. And also the 3 copies of Smiley Albina. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain and its card name, this unit gets plus 5,000 power and shield plus 1. So if you have to potentially call something out, the additional plus 5 that your Albina can be used when called out for the Divine skill definitely does help. But on top of that, it's also just a 10k guard to use against your opponent for those attacks. Also, the 2 copies of Beware of Overeating. Eileen, you want a good variety of different cards. I find that more with the grade 1, since the grade 2s have some pretty important use for what we use for abilities as well. But with Beware of Overeating, Eileen, on rear guard, when it boosts to rear guard, you look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom of the deck. So just more search power to, clear out the top of the deck and grab more useful triggers for you to reveal off of your Vanguard. And also the 2 copies of Cooling Heart Eureka. On this card at the end of the battle, you boosted a rear guard, you can Soul Blast 2, choose one of your boosted rear guards, and return to the hand. They're going to be bounced by the Divine skill to begin with, but still, just having this option, and also the additional plus 5 power when you place another unit in the same column as Eureka is just an additional help. And also, lastly, for the main deck grade 1 setup, 1 copy of Rainbow Jeweled Beast Opyrus. When placed on guard circle or rear guard, put a total of 2 cards from your soul or drop that were in the ride deck back into the ride deck to either choose a card with the same card name as your Vanguard and put into your hand from your soul or drop, or have this card get plus 15 shield on the guard circle. So just added support to make use of units from the ride deck. With our Sentinel lineup, since we do want a wide variety of named units, I run 4 different Sentinels. As long as they are the 2 or more in hand discard Sentinel, that's fine, but just wanting 4 different names to make use of as well. Because if you have to call Sentinels, if you use Krysrain's skill, you can still call them to the field because they'll be bounced back with her Divine skill for you then to use as guards in your hand. And then the only order that I run in the deck is 2 copies of the new Harmonious Offshot. You play it with an Energy Blast 2, choose 3 of your rear guards with different card names, and they get plus 5 till end of turn. So just added pressure because you can choose your different rear guards for the added boost in power along with a potential Persona Ride. For our trigger lineup, once again, same as the Sentinels, running a different variety of criticals. I do run 8 criticals just to have with the Krysrain pressure, so 4 different criticals for the Lyrical Monasterio, and just for a wider variety of names as well, I'm running the Bang Dream lineup for the last 4 criticals as well. As long as you have different name criticals, that's the most important thing to rely on with the deck. The only critical that only trigger that I kept the same was the draw trigger, Baratois, to have the additional 5k shield with this draw trigger, but even with my heals, I was running the different names, which can easily be done as well, just so you have the option to use the different names in your deck. With our over trigger, going with the Eidos Pharaoh for the choose a card from your drop zone, putting it back into your hand, and one of your units gets the additional critical as well. So then you have the added power to be able to stack Eidos Pharaoh on top of your Vanguard, then use the Divine skill, and have your rear guard gain the additional 100 million and extra critical as well, on top of the critical that Krysrain got also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Definitely love working on these Divine skill decks. It definitely does feel like a nice refresh for the Vanguard series. Still sticking to the same format, but a whole new lineup of cards to use. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.